Roy nailed it. Forget the past, forget the future. This is Manchester on a day when nothing else needs to matter.
Sunday is a big day. A victory against Pep Guardiola and Manchester City at the ETIHAD could really kickstart our season.
This really is a giant leap by Manchester United.
But despite our better form from the first 3 games, the media is insistent that United don't have what it takes against City.
Surely you have to be good enough and believe you're good enough to beat this Man United side, which is bad. I mean, really bad, and we've seen that early on. So,
as bad as the media and fans say we are, I really wonder why they haven't gone around and said the same thing about City.
Manchester City, let's be kind and say underwhelming.
Even if Pep Guardiola's men have lost 2 games on the bounce, I'd be a fool to underestimate this City side.
Haaland launches City again from unmissable range. Instant impact.
But even with all their new firepower, I think they would be also foolish to underestimate Manchester United. Let's get into it. First of all, guys, before we begin, I gotta say it feels good to be back from the international break. I am not the biggest fan of pausing the season for these international games. I know that these games are more important than regular international friendlies because of the World Cup coming up. And it was good to see some of our guys get full 90 minutes, get good runouts, score goals, get assists. Sheshko, I got to see him. I got to see Mbumo as well, putting a really good performance for Cameroon. I also got to see Lenny Euro for about 45 minutes of his U21 game. I didn't get to see the whole thing, but from what I saw, solid as ever, Rolls Royce of a defender. And thankfully, from the guys that played in these international matches, none of them came back with injuries, which is, love that. Gotta love that. But speaking of injuries going into this game, I feel like that is one of the more key topics going into the Manchester Derby, just because of the players that we've lost and the players that City've lost. I'll put it up now, but losing Matheus Cunha, Mount, and even Diogo Dalot, I feel like it just holds way more weight than City losing Marmoush and Cherki and Aït-Nouri. I feel like Marmoush is one of those expansive players that gives City a different dimension. But I feel like Doku can come in and kind of be that explosive winger. Not quite to the same extent as Marmoush, but Doku is still somebody we have to watch out for. I just feel as on our part, losing Mason Mount is tough. And it's frustrating because once again, Mason Mount succumbs to an injury. But he's had a great start to the season. And then losing Matheus Cunha, who literally has been the brightest spark. Him and Mbumo have just been immense for us and the way that we want to play. And to lose both of them in such an important game like this it's not ideal. The situation with Mason Mount is frustrating because, man, can this guy ever just stay fit? He's shown already this season how crucial he can be in linking up play, being a 10, being a defensive 10 as well, coming back and tracking back, helping the midfield out, and then springing our counterattacks to life. So frustrating. I think those two, compared to Manchester City's injuries, it's just different. Like, it's astronomically different. I think we're going to struggle a little bit without the influence of both of those players. Diogo Dalot is not too much of a concern for me just because his form at that wingback position is always inconsistent. And with Mazraoui coming back, I know Mazraoui can fill in and do a job there if Amad Diallo isn't going to get the start. But these injuries, I mean, it's a part of football, I understand. But I'm just looking at it from both teams' perspectives. City's injuries, although they are damning to the way that they play as well, they have better squad depth than we do. And that's just a fact. Okay, so now that we know who's out, let's talk about who's in. I feel like from a Manchester United perspective, Benjamin Šeško has to be starting in this game. I mean, there's no reason for him not to be. The price tag that we paid for him, the hype that follows him, the performances, the potential that he has. This is a perfect game for him to come in and fully understand what it means to be a Manchester United player in the Premier League against one of the best teams in the world. Manchester City, no doubt, they've lost 2 games in a row, deservedly so even. But at the same time, they're still a dangerous team. And playing their biggest rival at home is going to give them even more incentive to want to come out and attack and dominate this game. Manchester City are a team that, from the first 3 games of the Premier League season, have averaged more than 60% possession. So you know that they're going to come here and trying to impose their tactical genius of Pep Guardiola on us. But the thing is, for me, I feel like this game actually suits Manchester United's transition moments. This is the game where Manchester United is going to have to be defensively diligent. Obviously, we saw how Spurs defended against Manchester City. It was very robust. They were running back. They were working hard. And that's one thing I want to reiterate time and time again throughout this video and throughout this season. There are some games where, look, I know United fans, we want to see United dominate games. We want to see United create all the chances. We want to see United defend the best. We want to see, but the reality is this team is not as technically good as Manchester City's. So we're going to have to concede not having the ball as much. But in those moments, if we can stay compact, knowing how Ruben Amorim likes to set up his team defensively, narrow, compact, force the opposition out wide, where we have the extra numbers, where we can take care of 2v1 situations. Obviously, it's easier said than done when you're thinking about it tactically rather than it actually being applied in principle. But at the same time, I still feel as if Manchester United will have the edge going up against a slow back line of Manchester City. Against Brighton, we saw for their winning goal how exposed Manchester City were at the back because they were obviously going for the game. But we saw against Spurs when it was 0-0 how exposed they were at the back when Brennan Johnson scored the opening goal. So Manchester City are vulnerable. They don't have the pace like they used to have with Kyle Walker as a recovery defender, or even a Kanji. Like I said about United though, the reason why I have Šeško in this lineup and the reason why I feel like Šeško should start this game and the reason why I feel like Šeško will be crucial in this game, one, his height, his pace in behind, his link-up play. Manchester United, I saw a stat somewhere where Manchester United actually lead the league in second ball recoveries. So if Benjamin Šeško is in a position here and Bayindir does his utmost best to use his vision and passing range to get the ball into Šeško, Šeško can knock the ball down to a plethora of players. Even if we're in the middle of the pitch and Šeško is here, he can knock the ball down to Menu, or he can play a header into Bruno Fernandes into space, or play a header into Mbeumo for space. And because Manchester City are going to 100% go for this game, they're 100% going to come out with attacking intent. I feel like Manchester United can exploit these areas in transition. Mbeumo with his pace, Amad Diallo with his pace, Dorgu with his pace. I feel like it's really going to turn into a setup where Bruno Fernandes really doesn't occupy the 10 position like Cunha does. He'll definitely be in and around the box, on the edge of the box, still trying to be a playmaker, still trying to impose his genius on the game. This is going to be a tough game, without a doubt. I still feel as if Manchester City, no matter what form they're in, like I said, they're still a formidable foe. Erling Haaland is a formidable foe. This back line is going to be tested against Erling Haaland. And the only way I can say that they can stop him, realistically, is to just deny the entire Manchester City team the freedom and organization that they typically like to have and impose on other teams. If you can frustrate Pep Guardiola, if you can deny Pep Guardiola the expression, the freedom that his tactics try and give his team, then I feel like he kind of malfunctions. Then the rest of the team follows suit. Then the rest of the team runs out of ideas because a lot of their play does look a bit automated. Erling Haaland, Marmoush, Reinders have been, I think, City's most explosive players this season. Players who are very creative, players who are always, I think, 2 or 3 steps ahead. The problem is without Marmoush, you kind of lose that unpredictability. You know what Doku's going to do majority of the time. It's just about stopping it. You know that Haaland doesn't need too many touches just to get into the box and score a tap-in. But we do know that Tijani Reinders is a dangerous foe, dangerous player on the ball, dangerous player off the ball. His off-the-ball movement, he already seems like he knows. He already seems like he's been with Manchester City for a long, long time. These are the players that we're going to have to watch out for. I think for Manchester United, it's all about being disciplined. If we're not disciplined, if we give the ball away cheaply, if we aren't tracking our runners, if we aren't sprinting back when Manchester City have their own transition moments, we're going to get undone. And that's something that I'm terrified for. Looking at the Man United lineup, I really think that this will be it. Luke Shaw's in here instead of Masraoui because I feel like Amorim likes players, whether they play on the left side or the right side. He likes them to have the same footing as whatever side they play. Obviously, Amad Diallo is the anomaly in this system because he gives us much more dynamic, I feel like more dynamic output than Diogo Dalot or anybody else who could play in that right wing back position. I actually saw Patrick Dorgu play as a left wing back, or I'm sorry, as a right winger for Denmark, which was weird. It was really weird. So maybe Amorim in the future will try and experiment with that, but I feel like Ahmad on that side is already a lock, so there's really no point of even going there. I feel like this is it. I feel like this is the lineup. I mean, you could really swap Casemiro for Ugarte, but truth be told, Ugarte and Menu preseason looked amazing together. So far this season have looked absolutely dog. So there's no way that's happening. Maguire doesn't have the pace in my opinion, doesn't have the awareness in my opinion for a game like this against a striker like Erling Haaland. For me though, I feel like the game will be won in the middle of the park, not by the midfielders though, just by the sheer willpower and winning second balls, being more aggressive. If Man United can just do that, be more aggressive, want it more, then they have a strong case for this game in my opinion. We can talk about tactics all we like. I still feel as if at the end of the day, if you want it more than the other team, you most likely will get a result. Brighton didn't necessarily outplay Manchester City. They just wanted it more at the end of the game. They wanted to go for the game. They weren't afraid. They didn't shy away from their beliefs. They went and they did what they were supposed to do. Yankuba Minte, excellent in the final 30 minutes of the game. He was, honestly, I want to see Amad Diallo do what he did. Take Manchester City players on, confuse them, frustrate them. And then, like I said, Brighton worked hard. Spurs worked hard. It's just that foundation that we need in order to be successful, I believe. Obviously, we can talk about tactics, but tactics can be undone by a simple goal. Tactics can be undone by a simple mistake. So for this game, I don't want to talk too primarily about our tactics. I just want to make sure that we emphasize working hard, utilizing what we have, utilizing our strengths. We have players who are good in transition. We have a world-class midfielder who can ping passes in transition. We have defenders who are solid on the ball, who can also help in our transition. The midfield is going to be bypassed a lot of the time, I feel, just because Manchester City like to press high up the pitch. They will press high. They forced mistakes from goal kicks in both the Brighton and Spurs game. So it's going to be important to kind of understand we cannot mess around at the back. We're going to have to honestly look a little bit longer, I think, but Bayern's passing range should help with this. So I think this is going to be one of those games where it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be one of those high-scoring games. I think it's going to be a kind of a dogfight. And obviously, we hope that Manchester United comes out on the right side of that dogfight. And to be quite honest, the most important thing for this team is to finish their chances. If there's any game this season where United need to be clinical, it's this one. If Manchester City aren't scoring, if they aren't lethal in this game, we need to be. If Manchester City are missing chance after chance after chance, and we get that one golden opportunity, we have to be clinical. We've struggled in front of goal in terms of just finishing our chances. I think creating the chances, getting into the position to finish a chance off, we've done well. We've been able to actually create much better than we had last season. I just feel like, once again, the same ghost that was haunting us last season is coming into the fray now, which is the finishing ghost. We just can't finish. And if you can't finish, you won't win. Simple as. So that's something that I'm sure Amorim is telling his players, especially coming back together after the international break, like, hey, we can play a strong game. We can play to the best of our abilities. But if we can't put the ball in the back of the net, it doesn't matter. And Bumo is going to be huge. Bruno is going to be huge. Šeško, I think, is going to have a great impact on this game. But I think, all in all, it doesn't matter who scores. We just need to be clinical. We need to put the ball in the back of the net because City, like I said, are a dangerous team. I feel like we can exploit them in transition. And I didn't want to talk too much tactically today just because of that. I just feel like it's going to, like, whoever wins this game is going to be determined by who wants it more. And maybe just that one bit of quality that separates both teams. So I actually want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. I want to know what your thoughts are on this game. Where do you see Manchester United doing most damage to Manchester City? And how do you think we can stop them from doing damage to us? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, I can't wait to talk to you guys on Sunday after the derby. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really want to know how you're feeling leading up into this game, especially after the 2-week break. And as always, thank you so much for watching the video. I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.